A practice succession event becomes a party of introductions. How you can stage your all-important transitional succession message as a coming out party for the next gen advisor and a referral bonanza for your practice. Once again, welcome to the Rare Advisor. I've asked my good friend Bill Lacasse of SRG Financial Advisors to come back with me and have a deeper conversation about a transitional event that they structured in their business to help in the succession or the ultimate succession between Bill and his son, who is also in the business. So if you did not see the previous video where we get into some of the coaching and the mentoring that Bill engaged in order to get his son Christopher up to speed to ultimately become the next rainmaker, I would encourage you to go view that as well. But what I really want to talk to Bill about right now is the actual event that they ran, because it's pretty interesting. I've never heard anybody go about it this way before. And basically what Bill did is he took an event that was really a business event, but he kind of camouflaged it in a personal event with his 65th birthday. But there was a lot of strategy at play during that. And on top of all of it, they pulled this off during the pandemic, which is even that much more interesting. So Bill, I don't want to steal your thunder, because I think what you guys did is nothing short of amazing. But maybe if you could give just a quick explanation of what it was that kind of got you going down this path, and then let's get into kind of the strategy of the day and what you really wanted to accomplish and how you pulled it all together in order to make that happen.
Well, we wanted something that we could actually coach Christopher on how to public speak in front of a large group. He had never, ever been in a position where he had to speak to 100+ people. And we knew we wanted to do something that not only got him in that position, but I wanted it, if you know anything about group dynamics, you know that it helps to have a little music. It helps to have emotion, if you can get emotion in the room.
Right.
If you can have conversations that make people laugh, that make people cry. If you can encompass all of that into a group situation, suddenly you have that ability to influence what goes into their mind. And what I wanted them to ultimately walk away with was an extremely positive feel for my son Christopher.
Sure.
Because I have always been afraid that my business has been built, like a lot of people, on their personality. People come to see you because of who you are and what it is that you do. And how do you just one day say, well, guess what? I'm not going to do that anymore. And this person over here is now going to be your personality.
Right.
You hope that makes a jump from one person to the next. Well, there's no way that I wanted to put my son in a position to feel like that maybe he wasn't succeeding because the people that loved me maybe didn't love him as much, or whatever the case may be. So we tried to make this something that would transition that the feelings that my clients have for me over to the feelings that my clients would have for my son as we did this. Through doing this, we had a number of different clients, and we hand selected those clients as to who we knew would get up and tell a meaningful story that would be relatable to other people sitting in the audience.
Sure. That
would encompass the things as far as, like I said, laughter, a little bit of emotion, and all of those different things, culminating in Christopher giving a speech about his father. And that's a tough thing to ask anybody to do. Yeah. But to make it your first time in front of 100 and some odd people, and you're going to have to make nice about your dad and make that intro before I walk up on the stage. It was if it hadn't have been, well, I'm just going to go right back to Steve Phillips and all of his crew at Protocol, in that they were excellent in helping him to prepare for this event. Listening to Christopher tell me about some of the things they would do, like they would have him up there giving his speech, and they would walk around the room rattling dishes and taking pictures with a flash, and all the things that you might expect happening in that type of event. And they really got him prepared well.
Conditioned him.
And, yeah, very well conditioned, very well conditioned. And I can honestly tell you that when I got up, my story was basically that transition of what am I going to do? And basically it was, I told everybody, I said, well, this being my 65th birthday, I thought, what a more perfect time than to tell everybody here that I'm going to retire. And then after I said that, but bad news is I'm not going to, but I am going to slow down.
Which, by the way, I was lucky enough to actually be in attendance at this. And when you said that, I don't know if you could read it from up at the front of the room, but there was almost like a little bit of panic at first when you first said that. And then there was this wave of relief when you said, it'd be a great time to announce that I'm retiring, but I'm not. But what that did, and I'm sure you thought this through, but consciously or subconsciously, it just kind of opened everybody up. And they were happy they weren't losing you, but they totally now understood kind of what that next phase was going to mean to you, and how Christopher was going to be so crucial, basically a linchpin for your advisors moving forward, or for your clients as an advisor moving forward. And that little phrase that you used, I noticed, really took hold that night.
Well, that was my hope when I put that into the speech. That was what I wanted to have happen, and I used that as a transition into explaining that that I was going to be working on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and that if they needed something, that they needed to go through Christopher, that he would then bring me back in as needed to answer questions, or to make sure that any questions or any problems that they had were resolved. Yeah. Trying to make them comfortable in that idea, but then also explaining to them that one of the big differences and one of the big things that I was going to do is that I was not going to be doing any more marketing to the general public.
Yes.
That my days of marketing to the general public was over. I explained to them how, when you market to the general public, you get the general public as clients, and that what I wanted was people just like them sitting in the audience. And I used that as the opportunity to once again go through the advisor protocol stuff to explain about that I was setting my practice up to where this would be a by introduction only type of business, and that I was printing on my business cards my qualifications with by introduction only.
Right.
Meaning that if I was going to meet new clients, and I made the explanation that, I'm in the type of business where I was having more people, I was going to more funerals every year because of the clients that I've had for 30 years. And when they were 65, gosh, at the very best, they're 95 at this point. And that I'm seeing that kind of a thinning of the herd, and that for us to be a viable business and for us to continue and to be able to take care of their needs and the things that they were going to need, that we had to add to that, but that I was not going to do it just through a general seminar, even though that's how a lot of people there had come, and explain to them about the introduction process, with the idea of that if they have people in a situation that have a problem or have an issue, that this is a great time for them to say, hey, you know what? You don't have to become a client of my advisor, but as a service to me, he offers a sounding board service that offers the idea that if you have a problem, he will solve that problem for you. And if you like him, then you can talk to him about becoming a client, but he may not want you as a client. And I actually explained that in this with the idea of, getting people used to the idea that we needed to add people. I needed them to help me add people, but we were going to do it through an introduction process that was going to be comfortable for everybody that was doing that. And I got to tell you that it was a fairly emotional evening. And like Mike said, we did this during the height of COVID. And we were concerned. We did not want to have a spreader event.
Right.
We made sure that we were in a room that was large. It was large enough to hold 300 people, and we had a little over 100 people in this room. We had tables that would seat 10, and we put 6 to 8 around the tables. We had a buffet meal that we had servers serve everything onto people's plates as they were walking by. But after this was over with, I cannot tell you how many hugs, kisses. I had 3 grown men cry on my shoulder to the point that I had a wet shoulder. And we walked away from that evening going, okay, I am hoping that everyone stays healthy. And I want to just let everybody know that out of the 100 and some odd people that we had come, we had 0 issues with COVID. Nobody had, there was no transmission of anything. Everybody walked away unscathed. So it all worked out very, very well. It had the desired effect that we were looking for that evening and on into continuing to just today. I'm having people call me with I have a friend of mine that is experiencing whatever the problem, and I'm going to put you in touch with them. So
that's awesome.
Explaining what we did, explaining what we wanted to have happen, it works. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. It works.
Yeah. Well, so again, I had the privilege to be there. So some of the things that I picked up from the crowd, which I thought were really interesting, was well, first of all, probably should give a little clarity to all those listening. Bill's in a part of the country that has not been under significant lockdown, at least not like other parts of the country. Right. So they were able to do this, although depending on where you live, you maybe wouldn't have been able to do it at the same time that they did. But in the future or whenever, the strategy of it is very sound. And the other thing that you said a couple of things when you were speaking. Number one, you said, if somebody's important to you, then they're important to me. And that's how you relayed and kind of transitioned into the idea that they could send people your way, even though you weren't going to be out marketing the business. But you also talked about the fact that Christopher would, in fact, still be marketing the business. So again, this was not necessarily saying that Christopher is going to live on introductions only. But Bill, at this stage of the game, is transitioning into this philosophy. So it became a little bit of a takeaway, where people felt like, hey, it's pretty special if you get to work with Bill. And then that is, as you just reported now, but you had reported to me earlier, that just created all kinds of extra introductions. And so all of these pieces started to fit together. Because Christopher had the chance to get in the spotlight. He emceed the program. He brought up the various speakers, myself and others that you had there. But then he also gave a very good, high-quality, touching talk himself. So that kind of lifted him up the entire night. And then you gave a great talk, which kind of solidified everything that you were trying to accomplish that evening, endeared you that much further to your clientele, but also was really good positioning for Christopher in the long run. And so I think what was so cool for me to watch is that I knew how long you had started working on this. So how far back did it go that Christopher started kind of prepping himself and getting coached and mentored up, knowing that this day was going to be the kickoff for the future of the practice?
I would say it's probably at least a good 90 days that when we started the conversation about it.
Okay.
And Steve and his crew, like I said, they worked with him probably at least 3 or 4 times in person, 2 or 3 times through team meetings through Microsoft, numerous times on the telephone. But Steve Phillips was there that evening as well.
Yes.
And even that evening, he was taking Christopher around and explaining to him about acoustics of the room, where he might want to be focusing his attention, microphone tests. He did just an absolutely incredible job of taking him through all the steps from beginning to end till, I don't know if you noticed when Christopher came down off the stage and it all became done, who was the first person Steve went to, or who Christopher went to, was Steve Phillips.
Right.
And it was, my heart goes out to Steve for the rest of my life. For, he's done something that I know that I could not have done by myself. There's no way in the world that I would have ever been able to have coached Christopher. I can't even imagine the fights him and I might have even gotten into
Right.
by me trying to do what Steve did for us. And, I don't know if you remember, I told you early on, I said, what Steve is doing for Christopher, you got to put this stuff in a bottle. We got to get this to where other people can use this, because this it was an exciting evening that is going to pay for itself from the referrals that we get from it. There's no doubt in my mind about that. And I will say it was an expensive evening. We probably spent more on that evening than we could have done 2 or 3 pretty good sized dinner seminars for the cost of doing that evening. But it was not only was it my 65th birthday, it was Christopher's coming out party. And it was a release for a whole lot of people who had been cooped up for all summer long. I mean, it was a culmination of, like they say, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Yeah.
It was all of that.
Right.
So.
Well, and I think the other thing that's very important, if somebody was to follow in your footsteps and do this in their practice at some point in time, is I don't want to gloss over what you had said earlier, which was these were not all of your clients. These were the clients you want to duplicate. These were your best clients. So this was a hand-picked collection of 100 plus clients that you wanted at your event because of personal reasons, but also because of business reasons. Because these were the individuals who you want the introductions from, that you want to duplicate, birds of a feather, as they say. And they're also the ones that you needed, most importantly, to adhere to the next generation inside of your practice for the long-term viability of your business and the succession and transition that you guys will now be going through for the next few years. So that all came together very nicely.
I think you can judge the success of the transitional process through people's willingness to continue to refer and introduce people to our firm, because they know that I am going to slow down and quit, but they're confident in the fact that the firm is going to continue on, and they feel good about making those introductions.
Right. And so just for the listeners, the other thing I'd like to point out, using Bill as the perfect example here, is there's more people in Bill's practice besides just him and Christopher, but we're focusing on these two because Christopher ultimately is going to step into Bill's shoes as the next rainmaker there. Bill has another office that has another younger man, I should say, who's kind of the rainmaker there. And so that is going along well as well. But geographically, Christopher is going to become the rainmaker at this location, and the support staff, continues to thrive. Will continue to be built upon, no doubt, in the future as Christopher takes over the reins and so on. But now again, this does a couple different things. It gives you your built-in transition. It gives you the built-in future for your business, and it gives you a nice, slow, long track to run on, because you started this 5 years in advance of when you really want to truly kind of slow down or potentially even bow out of the practice, although that may never happen either. But kind of mentally that for the next 5 years, you don't want to be gone. You want to still work, but you also want that work to be enjoyable as Christopher is kind of taking over the practice. So there was a lot going on there. And although I've seen many transitions over the years in this industry, many have gone well, many have not gone well. But what I've not seen until you did it was to have that specific event where you pulled everybody together. Now, sometimes people will mention things from the podium, but they don't necessarily have the event and structure it the way you did. And I thought that was a really cool way to bring it all together.
Well, everybody's still talking about it. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, good for you.
Everybody that walks through the door, people that, that we had people that were invited that right up to the last minute said, you know what, I feel like I might have got exposed to somebody with COVID, and I hate at the last minute tell you that I'm not coming, but we thanked them and said, we were counting on the fact that our clients would do that.
Sure.
And, we probably had about 15 people that had already said they were going to come that did not. We had a considerable number that right off the bat were just not comfortable in getting out and doing things. They have, every one of them have said, did you record it? Is there something that I can see? So one of these days I'm going to have to talk to you about maybe running that through compliance and seeing if there's some way that I can get the video that we made that evening, or at least portions of it, out to some of the people that were not able to attend.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you'll be able to. Yeah, no doubt. Well, thank you, Bill. And for those who have been following along with this conversation and have been thinking to yourself, hey, I'm kind of in this situation, or I'm knocking on the door of having to tackle these kinds of things myself. If you'd like, reach out to myself. I can put you in connection with Steve Phillips, as Bill has referred to a few different times. Steve heads up our coaching and consulting division, which is known as Protocol, USA Financial Protocol. So as always, thank you for listening to The Rare Advisor. Bill, thank you for spending so much quality time with me, and we'll all be back again soon. Thanks.
Anything I can do to help, let me know.
Awesome. Thank you.